What is going on, everyone? Welcome into another live edition of the Patriots Beat podcast here on the CLNS Media Network, presented by our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks and Game Time Tickets. It's Brian Hines, back as always with Alex Barth ahead of Week 3. Patriots welcoming the Pittsburgh Steelers and Aaron Rodgers to Gillette Stadium, where the Patriots will look for their first winning streak in almost 3 years. They'll try to finally win a game at Gillette Stadium here. We know that's been tough for them to do. And Barth's just right off the bat starting. They might be getting some reinforcements in order to do so, because for the first time since July 28th, almost 7 weeks ago, or I think over 7 weeks at this point, we saw Christian Gonzalez on the practice field. He's been nursing that hamstring injury, missed the first 2 games of the season. It was on the practice field in a limited fashion Wednesday. He was limited again on Thursday, but he seemed to do, in front of us, he did a live tackling drill, or not live tackling, didn't actually bring him to the ground, but he participated in a tackling drill, which he didn't do Wednesday. So good sign, definitely, that he's out there. But what do you think his status is? Are you expecting him? Do you think he could be actually ready to go Sunday, that they could have Christian Gonzalez deployed in that secondary here?
I mean, I think there's a chance he plays, right? And I don't know for sure, just using some logic here. And I've talked about this, not that practice isn't important, it is, but that position, especially the way we think they're going to play it, is more of a film room position than an on-field practice position, right? It's not like wide receiver where you have to get the timing down with the quarterback and the chemistry of the route combinations and things like that. It's a lot more go in the film room, learn the nuances of what this guy does, learn his route tree, learn his release package, this and that, and then use that, out on the field on Sunday. So I'm not worried about him being like out of sync with the defense because he's missed time. What the question is, where is he at in terms of physical conditioning? He's, okay, so he hasn't been on the field since July 28th. What has he been doing behind the scenes? If he's still been able to kind of run and do that stuff and work on his stamina, and they've just been holding him out because they're being cautious and maybe taking contact is that last step that they don't want him to do. Well, if he's conditioned, if his conditioning is good, then yeah, if he practiced both days, he should be able to play. If it really was bothering him and he wasn't able to run around, he wasn't able to do some of that stuff, well, now it's a little bit tougher. What I think is encouraging, though, is that hamstring can be one of those injuries where you're not necessarily going to, as you ramp up, you're not going to know immediately yes or no. And it's all right, go to your treatment, go home, go to bed, come back. How do you feel tomorrow? And the fact that he practiced Wednesday, and we don't know how much he practiced, but he practiced Wednesday, comes back today, practices today. He was limited for both, but he was out there, I think is a good sign that whatever workload they gave him on Wednesday, he handled. So again, there's no inside information here. This is just me kind of looking at how these injuries have been handled in the past, and every injury is different. I get that. I'm a little optimistic. I don't know that I'm like for sure, like, yes, all signs point to he's playing, because if the conditioning is not there, he can't go, or maybe he goes in a very limited capacity, 3rd downs in 2 minutes, and that's it. But I don't know. The fact he's back on the practice field, the fact he practiced 2 days in a row, I think is an encouraging sign that he could be back this week.
And he does seem to be moving like himself, right, from the limited portion that we got to see. So he does seem to be moving fairly well. I'll ask you, would you consider, and you just kind of hinted at it, would you consider either a package, like you're playing 3rd downs, you're playing 2 minutes, or would you want him, if you're back, like you're back in full, playing a full amount of snaps that Christian Gonzalez usually plays? Or do you consider, even if he's at, 90, 95%, like we're going to hold you out, Carolina's next week, maybe even looking at Buffalo in week 5, like would you hold him out for maybe a more important Buffalo game and make sure that he is fully 100% healthy? Either of those 2 scenarios, or are you just, he's ready to go, he's ready to go right now?
So I would not rush him back, right? But if it's kind of, hey, this is as good as it's going to get, and like he's not really going to improve unless you want to put him on IR and shut him down for like 2 months, right? If it's as good as it's going to get, put him out. I'm not just like waiting. Oh, well, this is a bigger game. No, like get him going. If they're like, yeah, he's like 80%, but if you give him another week, he'll be 100. I'd wait till he's 100. I don't need him at 80. Yeah. Not for this team. If they're like a contender, then that's a different story, but not for this team.
Yeah, and they do need him, right? They've given up the most pass yards in football through 2 weeks here, 677, so they could use that boost. Even though I would say Steelers, like the wide receivers of the Steelers, it's more of like a physical unit compared to Miami's speed. So maybe you would feel a little bit better. Or I'll ask you, like, would you feel better even if he doesn't play with Carlton Davis and Alex Austin, maybe holding up against this more physical Steelers bunch and maybe going back to a little bit more man coverage, even though they've got beat there pretty badly to start the year? But do you think if they're without Christian Gonzalez, the group they have matches up a little bit better with these Steelers wide receivers?
I mean, I think you need. I think just to that point, I think it's Marcus Jones on Calvin Austin, not Alex Austin. We saw how that went last week with Alex Austin trying to guard speed receivers. I do think it's a game where, it's not as unfavorable as a matchup as Miami was, but you still have, all right, so now it's Marcus Jones on Calvin Austin. Like, I'd like to have Carlton Davis, kind of like in week 1, the ability for Carlton Davis to cover tight ends in this game. I would like that. And to your point about they've allowed the most passing yards in the league, which is true. I think important context with that number, though, is Christian Ellis and Robert Spillane alone have allowed almost 35% of their total passing yards, according to PFF. So, I was explaining to somebody earlier, what's wrong? Like, I've been getting 2 questions this week that I think people are asking is the same question, and they're actually different questions. They're related, but they're different questions. What's wrong with the Patriots secondary, and what's wrong with the Patriots in coverage? So, and what will fix these, right? So, what's wrong with the Patriots secondary is they don't have Christian Gonzalez, and everybody slotted a spot too high, and you ran into a mismatch in Miami that is a ton of speed, and without Gonzalez, you don't have a ton of speed. And so you plug Gonzalez back into that equation. I think that fixes a lot of that part of the equation. Right? What's wrong with them in the secondary? What's wrong with them in coverage? Half the answer is the secondary and not having Christian Gonzalez. The other half is the linebackers, which Gonzalez helps some, because now if you have Gonzalez and Carlton Davis on the boundaries, in theory, you shouldn't need to be sending help to either side as much. Now you can help more in the middle. Maybe you put a safety on these running backs or on these tight ends instead of one of those linebackers, and that helps. But some of it is also just these guys need to cover better. I think especially Ellis, like Spillane's obviously, he's a bigger name. They paid him more money. He's a starter. He's a team captain, but he's never a pure coverage linebacker. He was able to do it at times, but he's a guy you want kind of reading and reacting to the football. Christian Ellis is a coverage linebacker. So those guys got isolated and picked on against Miami. I think the Steelers, if they're smart, will try to do some of that again. But if you can help there more because you have Gonzalez back, that would be big. So I don't, you look at that number. Well, they've allowed the most passing yards in the league. Yes. Christian Gonzalez coming back does not fix all of that, because some of those issues are happening at the second level, not the third level.
Yeah. And if you're without him, that's the difficulty of playing man. Even if you feel good about Marcus Jones and maybe Alex Austin, against their non-DK Metcalf receivers you saw in Miami, like you play man at the end of the half, and then, Devon Achane has Robert Spillane on him. That's a mismatch. We're just going to go there. Now, Jalen Warren isn't Devon Achane, but he's still very reliable underneath. I think he broke off like a 60, 65-yard dump off from Aaron Rodgers last week. So he can make plays out of the backfield as well. And if you have Robert Spillane or Christian Ellis and they're struggling there, that could be then the mismatch that Aaron Rodgers kind of picks on, or the tight ends. Like, they have all the tight ends in the world that we know. Arthur Smith loves playing all of them. Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, Darnell Washington will mix in there. They'll play a lot of these tight ends. So that could be a point of emphasis for Rodgers to kind of pick off if they do play man without Christian Gonzalez. So how would you do that if you were the Patriots? Then would you like to see a little bit more Marte Mapu this week? Maybe Spillane early downs, Mapu late downs. I mean, you just need better play. Like, that's simple from Christian Ellis and Robert Spillane. But could you maybe start to see Mapu work in a little bit, maybe on later downs, especially?
I wouldn't rule that out. I also wonder if Kyle Duggar plays a little bit bigger of a role this week and they just use him essentially. And I know he struggled in camp, but it was more over the top, deep coverage, not that intermediate stuff with the running backs and tight ends. So more Mapu, more Duggar would certainly be a way to go about it. But ideally, it's Ellis and Spillane stepping up and maybe getting a little more help if Gonzalez is back.
Yeah. And then you need to pressure Aaron Rodgers, right? Like, make him hold the football. That's going to be a big thing. So that front,
but really pressure with 4, because if you blitz him, he's going to pick you apart. So you got to pressure with 4.
So hopefully they can kind of get to him, make him hold the football. Because I mean, he's 41, right? He doesn't move like he once did, but he can still kind of dice you up from the pocket. So make him hold the football and get to him. With the injuries, we're talking about Gonzo back. Keon White was also back, full participant. Missed the last game, missed the last couple practices with that illness. Where do you just think his role kind of is right now? Because I thought Anthony Jennings played fairly well, on being active for him last week. He even played
Yeah.
special teams. Could we get to a point where I don't know if they would make Keon White inactive, but that role for him really kind of reduces moving forward?
I also wonder if it's just a matter of it's early in the season and guys have their legs under them. But as you go on and as this becomes more of a slog, keeping Caleb Chase on fresh, maybe for Keon White, keeping some of those interior guys fresh, Milton Williams, Christian Barmore, and maybe there's now just room for another person in that rotation because you're trying to keep everybody else fresher. Obvious passing situations, I still probably want Keon out there over Anthony Jennings. I think Anthony Jennings is more of a running down or tweener down player. So the two of them kind of splitting that backup role, which isn't ideal, but this isn't a team that's starved for roster spots. They've had an open roster spot for like 2 weeks now, right?
I know.
They never filled that spot. So it's not like they're up against it in terms of needing players. If you have to have two guys split a backup role at this point, you do it. I think that's probably it for Keon. I'd like to see him get going. I think he could, in theory, have a bigger role if he makes some of the strides we saw early in the summer before he went quiet. But right now, it's probably just obvious passing downs as a spell rusher, with the draw being he can, help you rest guys inside and outside.
Yeah, and it does seem like they want to try to keep him at one spot, but I do wonder if it gets to a point where they start rotating him in a little bit on the interior, right, with Milton Williams and Christian Barmore to help spell those guys. And because he was so good there last year as an interior rusher, he's a tough matchup for guards and center. So I do wonder if maybe they get to a point where they kick him inside a little bit there. But anything else with Rodgers, the Steelers offense, Patriots defense? It's caught your eye? Anything you're looking at?
Tackling, and kind of like I said with coverage, as much as people have highlighted the Patriots tackling issues, Robert Spillane has 8 missed tackles. Christian Ellis has 6. Spillane actually has more missed tackles than tackles made. But Spillane has 8. Ellis has 6. Nobody else has more than 2. So to say the Patriots have had tackling issues is not incorrect, but it's also not necessarily this roster-wide problem. It's really at the linebacker position. Linebackers have to tackle. That's not really something you can hide. But the last 2 years playing over 2,000 snaps, Robert Spillane's missed tackle rate was 9%. He's now at 53. It's another example of, I know we do the X and O's on the shows. We like to find creative solutions and things like that. He just kind of needs to be better. And Ellis too. They just kind of need to be better at the tackling. There's some things you could do if it's going to be an issue to mitigate it a little bit from where they're at now, but you're really going out of your way to do some of that stuff. And it would just be a lot easier if Robert Spillane starts tackling like we know he can. Like he alone can solve a lot of the Patriots tackling issues. So again, not incorrect to say the Patriots have a tackling problem, but it's not like it's 4 from this guy, 3 from this guy, 4 from this guy, 5 from this guy. It's like 2 guys that are where they have 25 missed tackles. I know the number off my head between the two is 8 plus 6. So that's 14. More than half.
Yeah.
Right. So more than half of the missed tackles are just 2 players. So if those 2 guys get better, it's going to look a lot better as a whole. But this is a team. Jaylen Warren's very good after the catch. Calvin Austin's very good after the catch. Jonnu Smith, who, by the way, had 900 yards last year, like 880 something. Very good after the catch. So this is it. And Vrabel talked about this week. Like, this is a team that you're gonna sit on the deep stuff with Rodgers because he wants to throw it deep, and they have DK Metcalf. But you also don't want to just give them a ton of catch and run opportunities either, because they are built to do that very well. The skill position players and Rodgers don't necessarily mesh, which is kind of an interesting thing you notice about the Steelers. If Rodgers is going to dump it off, like, usually that's a win against him, but these guys are tough to tackle. So it's not going to be a win if you're missing tackles and suddenly they're picking up a ton of yards after the catch.
They definitely put an emphasis on that this week too. Like we saw talking about what Christian Gonzalez was participating in practice today. Like back to a training camp drill we saw a lot, where it's like a one-on-one. They have to run around cones and then face each other and tackle. So definitely an emphasis on tackling. But with Spillane, you mentioned his past history. Like he missed 10 total tackles last year, and now it's 8. So it does just get to a point where, okay, we got to execute better and play better. And you hope just with more kind of game reps, that gets better. And against, I feel like a Steelers matchup is a better matchup for him than covering the Devon A-chain and all that Miami speed. I do wonder, though, if it keeps trending in this direction, especially with someone like Christian Ellis. And Jason here in the chat said Tavai ? If all of a sudden we're in week 5 and Johnny Tavai is active and ready to go off IR, like if there's an early down role for him in this defense, maybe next to Spillane taking Ellis, and then Ellis becomes more of that third down player if he can improve in pass coverage. And that's how you're kind of looking at this linebacker split there in week 5, maybe beyond.
Yeah, but I mean, then you still have the coverage issues, which he obviously doesn't help. It'll be interesting.
Yeah, for early down with Tavai. You don't want him. Yeah. You don't want him covering, but maybe that helps. Ellis, if he's just becoming a third down player, that helps him coverage, or Mapu is that guy. But I do wonder if all of a sudden we're sitting here and Jelani Tavai does have a role in this defense when he's activated off IR. But that's Pat's defense. We'll see with Christian Gonzalez's status, but encouraging that he is back on the field. I want to talk about Drake May in this Patriots offense now, but very quickly, also have to talk about our wonderful friends over at Prize Picks. And Barth, you and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement this season on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right and it's simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. And if you get your picks right, you could cash in. Thursday night football tonight, Dolphins at Bills. Josh Allen, more or less than 270 pass yards. You got Tua, Tyreek Hill. They might have it be throwing the football a lot if they're down big to Buffalo. So you can look at those guys. Or, of course, put some Patriots in your lineup this weekend. Drake May, Stephon Diggs, Trayvon Henderson, Ramondre Stevenson, all those options. And we'll put our lineup together, of course, after to wrap up this preview show. And again, Prize Picks also offers injury reboots. If one of your players leaves the game in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks won't count it as a loss. Great deal there. So make sure you download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup over on Prize Picks, where it's good to be right. All right. To the Patriots offense against the Steelers defense. It's not going well for the Mike Tomlin defense over there in Pittsburgh. For as much as the Patriots have been giving up explosive plays, kind of feels like the same story over there in Pittsburgh. And Barth, I feel like last week down in Miami, you saw a lot of these West Coast elements that we talked about, with the zone runs early on, the bootlegs, the moving pockets, and then they got kind of more to their traditional downhill stuff. Josh McDaniels talking today says we're kind of this week-to-week offense, as we know Josh McDaniels is, but would you like to see them in this matchup lean a little bit more into that, the motions, the under center, the run actions, the moving pockets? Or would you attack this Steelers defense that, again, is in a rough spot on the ground game, explosives down the field? Would you attack them a little bit differently this week in Foxborough?
I mean, I don't think it's identical to the Miami game plan. You should, especially with how banged up they are up front. They're down a defensive tackle and Isaiah Loudermilk. They're down one of their defensive ends and Alex Highsmith. And look, they still have TJ Watt, but I don't know that you need to be as much focused on heavy personnel. I think you can get into more 3 receiver. The Steelers, by the way, have also sucked at tackling. They have a ton of missed tackles too. So I don't know how much some of it comes down to look early. How much do you get man or zone? If you get a lot of man, and I'm putting Pop Douglas on the field and spreading it out a little bit more and letting him go to work. And you can do some of that with the rollout stuff and with the play action stuff. But if they're going to just sit in zone, I'd run the ball on them. They've gotten gashed against the run. One number that is important, though, if you remember, I got kind of fixated on the Patriots refusing to run to the right against the Raiders. The Steelers are averaging 6 yards per carry against to the left side, like offense's left side, 2.5 yards per carry against the right side, which is where TJ Watt is. So on one hand, they should be able to gash him off that left side behind Will Campbell and Jared Wilson. On the other hand, vary it like they did in Miami, vary a gap in zone, vary of the spots you're hitting on the field and where you're running. I think that's important. I still want to see them have a diverse run game. I still want to see them do some of that play action stuff that they did against the Dolphins and be under center more, but I want to see more 11 personnel used within that construct because I think this might be a better week to do that, especially if you get a lot of man coverage. Now you get Pop Douglas and Kyle Williams out there, start running them across the field and start using their speed.
Yeah, I want to talk about those receivers, but it is a little different of a Mike Tomlin defense. You know, we're used to kind of that zone that Tom Brady used to always pick apart. They're playing man coverage at the sixth highest rate in the league, and they're blitzing a lot, right? The second highest blitz rate behind that with that man coverage. So they're aggressive. They're playing a lot of man. The Seahawks gashed them on a lot of those moving pockets last week using the aggressiveness against them. I think they moved the pocket 10 times in that one. So you could see a lot of those, zone runs and bootlegs early. But with the receivers, Pop Douglas's snap count was a big talking point last week, and talking to, McDaniels, Todd Downing spoke today, even some of the players, it just felt like that was the matchup, right? And Miami was playing a lot of zone. They wanted to run the ball. Do you think we'll see more Pop Douglas in this one because Pittsburgh is playing a lot of man? And do you have confidence that, they'll actually get him the football as well? Because that's been a struggle when he's even been on the field, in that week 1 game is getting Pop Douglas the football.
Yeah, I mean, I'd hope that he's on the field more if they're seeing man, because this is the kind of game that he should be good. And I've said this, I said on Catch 22 this week, the straight line speed and the ability to create after the catch, they need in their offense. And it's basically him or Kyle Williams that's going to give that to you. Efton Chisholm's a slightly different player. Efton Chisholm projects more into the role that Stephon Diggs is in right now. And I'm not rushing to get Stephon Diggs out of the lineup, certainly not. So against man coverage, those guys should eat. I would be trying to get those guys opportunities. You mentioned that first game, Drake missed him a couple times in terms of inaccurate throws, missed him a couple times in terms of just didn't see him open. I think there were opportunities for him to have a bigger game than he did. So I would like to see them try to get him going.
Yeah. I do think he's going to play more. Yeah, tell me if I'm reading too much into this, because I do believe in the usage last week, right? Like they wanted to run the ball, a lot of zone, but you asked Josh, you asked Todd Downing, they both say, he was targeted a lot in the summer. He had a great summer, but he didn't get the ball a lot early in the year, but his attitude's been great. But they never say like, we're going to get him the ball, he's going to play a lot, right? Like just say his attitude's been great, that he hasn't been getting the football. Like, do you think they feel differently maybe about Pop Douglas than we do, or is it just kind of their cover right now, and he is going to go out there and maybe have a huge game in against a man-heavy team?
Maybe they're not quite as high as we are, but I don't think that, again, they know, and Josh has to know, that speed, you need the speed. Like there has to be a speed element on the field, especially we'll get to TreVeyon Henderson. If TreVeyon Henderson's going to have a lesser role after what he did last week, like you need somebody on the field who is a threat to run away from the defense. There's basically 3 guys on their offense that project as that kind of player, like with the ball in their hands. Booty can do it vertically a little bit, but that's different. It's Pop Douglas, it's Kyle Williams, it's TreVeyon Henderson. You have to find a way for at least one of those guys to be regularly involved in your offense, to put that speed element on the field, or it's going to really change the way defenses defend you, and not in a good way. So, people ask me why I'm so high on Pop. I think Pop has the easiest path to that. At least right now, it's probably Henderson long-term, but right now Pop has the easiest path to that, which is why I think it's important to get it going. But it doesn't have to be Pop. If Kyle Williams gets an opportunity and is just rolling, great. Like that would be awesome. But I do think there's somebody they have to have who's able to do that.
Yeah. Kyle Williams, this could be the week for one of those long explosive go balls, because you've seen him out there in those plays. Sometimes he's just a distraction, but he's been running those go balls a lot. Like the first drop back of the game in Miami, they wanted to hit him on one and they kind of had him, but long developing play, Drake got sacked. And you look at the Steelers defense, they've got kind of gash on these same concepts, this post crosser against I forget who they played week 1, but then the Seahawks got him again in week 2. Like they're going to try to hit that on the Steelers, because they're they have Jalen Ramsey, they have Darius Slay, but it hasn't been pretty back there in the secondary for them. So they're going to try Kyle Williams on one of those deep balls. So that's my shot called this week. They're going to hit Kyle Williams on one of those, and it will be good to see him get involved. But you also mentioned Travion Henderson in this offense. It was a tough one for him in pass pro, even though I did think it was encouraging that his eyes always seemed to be in the right spot in pass pro. He was always filling the right gap, taking the right man, taking the right assignment. It was just overwhelmed with maybe the speed of the game at times. But do you think that does lower his snap count a little bit here moving forward, especially with how good Ramondre and Antonio Gibson looked? Or are they going to kind of let him play through this and grow as a young rookie?
Well, so this will be interesting. We know with Josh McDaniels back in the day, if a rookie running back made a mistake, we wouldn't see him for weeks. Now, Travion Henderson's not any rookie. He's a second-round pick. He's proven through the summer that he can play at a high level, and it's also a new head coach. So I don't think Travion Henderson's going to get outright benched. But if you're going to be on the field in the situations where he projects to make the biggest difference, you have to be able to pass block. And it's not as simple as send him out in the route. You don't have to worry about it. There's going to be times where you're going to have to check to, a max protection and him having to stay in and things like that. You don't want to have to help your running back block. The running back's supposed to be the one helping block. So I wouldn't be surprised if he has a slightly lesser role this week as they work on that. I would hope those snaps go to Antonio Gibson and not Ramondre Stevenson, because let's not turn this into running Ramondre Stevenson into the ground again. And I think that they really should just be rotating all three and keeping them all fresh. But I'm interested to see just how much that game last week impacts Henderson. In terms of his workload, it doesn't even have to do with like output or even touches, just total number of snaps on the field.
I wonder if like the way Vrabel's handled like the Borgalis thing, if that's kind of indicating that he's going to let these rookies kind of work through these things, right? And maybe that could correlate with Travion Henderson and letting him, just get the live action and learn and grow as you are a young player.
The difference is, though, it's not just the technical pass protection issues, it's the penalties. He had 3 penalties last week, 2 on offense, 1 on special teams. So does that, I guess Borgalis had a penalty too. He kicked the ball short, but it's that's one of the most interesting storylines for me going into this game is how do they use Travion Henderson?
Definitely. So last thing on offensive line, how the hell they blocking TJ Watt? It's been encouraging. Morgan Moses has at least been limited in practice this week, so it looks like he could actually be good to go. Marcus Bryant would be first up behind him if he can't go, the rookie 7th round pick. So does that worry you with TJ Watt coming off the right side there, or how do you think this offensive line is going to hold up against this Steelers front?
I mean, I think it's good that, look, Marcus Bryant's probably going to have to play at some point this season. Nothing against Marcus Bryant. I don't think you want to drop him in against TJ Watt, right? And so it's good Morgan Moses is going. They're going to have, why am I blanking on the guy's name? The backup edge rusher on the other side.
Oh, Herbig?
Herbig, yeah. They're going to have, is it Justin Herbig? Sam Herbig? His name completely escaped my brain.
Nick Herbig.
Nick Herbig. I wasn't even close.
It's Alex Highsmith who's not going. Doesn't
right. Who's not playing. So
then Nick Herbig, who is still a good pass rusher, secondary pass rusher.
Yeah, but you got to back up on that side. They'll probably rotate in Jack Sawyer or some too. So you have rookie on rookie. At what point? We've talked about Will Campbell so much with kid gloves, and I get it. He's a rookie, and you want to be careful and make sure that he's in a spot to succeed. He's been really good. And I think this is probably in terms of the player we think he's going to go against the most in Herbig. Is it unfair to say this is his easiest matchup so far of the 3 games? Not to say it's easy, but is easiest. Are we getting ahead of ourselves thinking maybe you send some more help to the right side because TJ Watt's still TJ Watt? And you see at least early, you see what Will Campbell can do when it's just him over there. Has he earned that? Has he earned that yet?
The only thing with Herbig, and it's like he's a good speed rusher, so I don't know if we talked about the arms and getting beat to the outside and the counters to the inside. Like I think that will be a good test for Will Campbell, but TJ Watt is definitely more of a threat, I would say, than Nick Herbig. But I do think it's a good just skill set matchup for Will Campbell in this one with the speed of Nick Herbig on that edge.
So that'll be interesting to see, but I still worry about TJ Watt taking over the game, especially if Morgan Moses is banged up. This would be the week. They haven't gone to 6 OL yet. I don't think they have won 6 offensive line snap yet this year. We know that's something Josh does.
They're doing it.
This would probably be the week to break it out, all things considered. And
100%.
whether you put that 6 offensive lineman off Campbell's side so you can slide the 5 help to the right, or you just put the help over there on the right, and then, you put the extra lineman there and then slide left, like we'll see, probably a little bit of both, but this would be a good week to go to 6 offensive linemen.
Even in the run game, like with the Hunter Henry and Austin Hooper, like we know those guys aren't plus blockers. Like they weren't getting much movement with their kind of jumbo look. So I absolutely could see Marcus Bryant getting in there with a little jumbo action with 6-0 linemen this week. Seems like it would be a good time to do that, especially with those edge rushers. But anything to wrap up?
Who do you think it is? Who do you think it is? Is it Bryant or is it Wallace?
I think it's Bryant. Wallace hasn't even been active, so
that's true.
I would definitely say it's Bryant. So any last thoughts? Offense? We didn't really even talk about Drake. With Drake, anything else to wrap up?
Don't turn the ball over. Just kind of keep where he was. He was good last week. Just keep that. Just build off last week. I don't think it's any more complicated than that. We kind of talked about it in the way, how they're going to call the offense. Are they going to keep doing that bootleg stuff? Are they going to keep, some of that outside zone stuff going? Like that all ties into Drake, and let him do what he's comfortable with.
Yeah. All right, so we'll wrap up with special teams and, of course, our wonderful Prize Picks lineup very quickly. Our friends over at Game Time, if you're looking for football tickets this fall, make sure you get them on the Game Time app, which gives the advantage back to fans. It's the hack for unlocking amazing tickets and experiences in a few taps, and it's incredibly easy to use. And the Game Time guarantee means you can trust you'll get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included. So what you see is what you pay. Cheapest get in right now for Steelers at Patriots on Sunday, 1 o'clock, $160 on the Game Time app. Or you can fire up one of their amazing super deals. Move right behind the Optum Field Lounge there, right where the Steelers run out of the tunnel. $267 in the corner there. Great spot, great seats to watch a game, I believe. Sunday looks like it's going to be nice, 69 degrees, nice for a high, good, nice fall day. Doesn't look like any precipitation, so a good day to come watch a football game at Gillette Stadium. So make sure you take the guesswork out of buying your football tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. So, Barth, before we head over to our Prize Picks lineup here, just a lot of belief in Andy Borregales on special teams. I think it's pretty simple. Just let's make all your kicks and extra points this week. But anything else with special teams, the return game, the punt coverage, just anything specific that has your attention on Sunday.
So obviously Borregales is one. And then I guess just how does the punt unit respond? And was Bryce Behringer out kicking his coverage? Is there something they can do better in coverage? Do they still let him fully unleash and maybe we see a different coverage plan? Those would be the two big things for me. Steelers special teams is coming in ready because they had a brutal mistake last week. Tough. Brutal. I don't know how they've been getting chewed out all week, I'm sure. So they're going to come ready to play.
Yep. They'll have a new kick returner too after Caleb Johnson. Just let that one.
To be fair, Caleb Johnson should never have been returning kicks.
Very true.
Although, didn't LeGarrette Blount return kicks for the Patriots for a little bit and was like sneaky good at it?
He did.
Well, not everybody's LeGarrette Blount, so.
Yeah, LeGarrette Blount can do what he wants. Caleb Johnson, they got what they might have deserved on that one. But so
LeGarrette Blount returned 17 kickoffs for the Patriots in 2013, averaged 30 yards a return.
Look at that. How about that?
That's pretty good.
Good for LeGarrette Blount. All right. Let's do our Prize Picks lineup here to wrap up Patriots Steelers. Anyone you're specifically looking at right off the bat? Thinking you're
Jonnu Smith.
Jonnu Smith. Revenge game.
He killed them last year.
He did kill them last year. Jonnu Smith. 14.5 longest reception, 29.5 receiving yards, a touchdown.
Over on those yards.
Over
more than yards.
More than 29.5 receiving yards. We'll put that one in. So that's our Steelers play. Head back to the Patriots lineup. We got Bryce Behringer, more or less than 3.5 punts. Drake May completion percentage, 66.2%. Interception for Drake, more or less. Longest completion, if you think he's going to hit one of those explosives, 32.5. Longest rush, 11.5. Pass
Maybe
yards.
longest rush.
Pass
What was
yards
his
is
pass yards?
223.5. And then longest rush, he said, was
He
11.5.
played really good last week. He only had 230. So I don't hate that longest rush one.
All right. We'll go longest
More on
rush,
that.
more than 11.5. Excuse me. A lot of Drake Mays in here. Hunter Henry, 36.5 receiving yards. Kayshon Boutte, 34.5 receiving yards. Mac Hollins, 15.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, they're just not throwing a. What do we have for the running backs? Although even the running backs, we don't know how they're. This is a tough one to do. We might need multiple Steelers ones in this.
Mondre is 40.5 rush yards. 56.5 total, if you think he's still going to be catching the ball a lot.
Honestly, the 56.5 total is probably not awful.
Okay, we'll go more.
What do you think's better, the 56.5 total or the 40 rush?
I think they're going to run the ball fairly well anyway, so I like the 56 just because
Okay.
I think he could like just hit 60 yards on the ground, so then you might as well just throw the receiving yards in there as well. So Stephon Diggs, 43.5 receiving yards. Is Kyle Williams in here? No, Kyle.
How many
Williams.
catches for Diggs?
I can't call my shot with Kyle Williams there.
No.
They do not have his catches, unfortunately.
I think we need another Steelers one.
All right, we'll go back to the Steelers. We have Jonnu, Jalen Warren.
Yeah, Jalen Warren receiving might not be a bad one.
They have Jalen Warren, 19.5 receiving yards or 12.5 receiving yards on his first 2 receptions.
That 19.5 receiving seems
more
pretty
there.
good. Yeah.
All right, we'll go more.
The first 2 receptions, when like who knows, the screen gets blown up.
Yeah. So we need one more before we get to our sickos pick. Whatever are we? If we're going
Borgalis on there.
I did not see him. No, he's not. Rogers, anything? Think Rogers will throw a pick? Think they'll
Probably
get him?
Not. No, I don't think so.
You want to go less there?
Oh yeah, let's go. He never throws picks. Yeah, let's go less.
All right, we'll go less there. So those are 5
last week, by the way. Do you know?
What
did we miss by 1 again? How did we do last week?
I think we missed by 1. It's all. I think it was Travion total yards. We missed by like 10 yards or something. So
nice.
5 of 6. Sicko game. Are we going back to Mac, or do you have something else in mind?
Well, Mac might not start this week. Fair. So let's go, but let's stick with the backup quarterback theme.
A lot of backup quarterbacks.
Where to go? I think Bengals Vikings is 2 backup quarterbacks against each other, right?
And it's Carson Wentz. That's sicko.
Oh yes,
that's
Carson. Give me Carson Wentz more pick. However many picks they have, more.
More. Okay, we'll do that. More than half an interception. So.
Unless is that one of those that kills the multiplier?
Oh yeah, it's
Oh no, all right, we gotta do something else.
Okay, we'll take that off.
We're all about maxing out the multiplier. What's Carson Wentz passing yards?
Passing yards, 207.5.
Oh, that Bengals defense sucks though. And he is throwing to Justin Jefferson. Maybe we just do the interception one and it'll be a little less this week.
19.5 pass completions, or do you think 29.5 pass attempts? Do you think he'll throw the ball that much?
Honestly, no. I think they're just going to run the ball.
Okay. You want to go less?
Good offensive line.
Let's
go less on the pass attempts. Yeah.
All right. We'll do that. So there's our 6 picks. The lineup in totality: Aaron Rodgers, less than half an interception; Drake May, more than 11.5 longest rush; Jalen Warren, more than 19.5 receiving yards; Jonnu Smith, 29.5 receiving yards. So those Patriots linebackers in coverage there. And then Ramondre Stevenson, more than 56.5 rush plus receiving yards, and wrapping it up with Carson Wentz, less than 29.5 pass attempts. What a game, Carson Wentz versus Jake Browning.
I really hope the people who see these on Twitter and don't watch our show, I mean, I'd hope they watch our show, but maybe who don't see this segment, I really hope they look at that and be like, how did this happen?
They're like, what the hell? How did they decide on Carson Wentz?
Why is Carson Wentz in there?
In this one. So Promo code CLNS on Prize Picks for new users. Play $5, get $50 instantly. That is, of course, if you go 6 for 6, a 40-time multiplier. So a $5 play wins you $200. So you get that $50 in lineups instantly if you want to put that on this lineup as well. 6 for 6 gets you $2,000 in winnings. Great lineup there. So again, we'll tweet that out before kickoff. If you guys want to play along with us, you can absolutely do that over on Prize Picks. Again, promo code CLNS. So Barth, any closing thoughts here, or we can wrap this one up?
I think that's pretty much it. Is tonight the final game Mike McDaniel coaches the Miami Dolphins?
Oh boy.
Yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah, probably. They're going to get boat raced by Buffalo. Yeah. So he'll be in San Fran, by October as a
probably
advisor of some sort. So
yeah.
We'll see what happens there. So, all right, we'll wrap it up there. Make sure you guys are locked on to Patriots Press Pass. Like, subscribe, turn on those notifications so you know when we'll go live. Of course, we'll be back early next week to break down Patriots at Steelers, and also anyone just listening wherever you get your podcast, please subscribe there. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you do that as well. You can also follow Barth on Twitter at RealAlexBarth. Head over to 985thesportshub.com for all his Patriots coverage there. And you can follow me on Twitter at I am Brian Hines, and head over to patspulpit.com for our coverage online there as well. Thanks everyone for jumping on with us tonight. Have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy all the football, and we will see you guys back next week.